How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson, and for this one, very excited to put this one together for you because I'm sitting in the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. This is the GR Corolla Core model, so it starts at just under $36,000. It has the performance package, which adds the Torsen limited slip diffs up front and at the rear. This has the technology package, the cold weather package, and a few other add-ons, and with delivery, this comes out to $40,159. Making this the middle child of the GR family in terms of price and power. And after driving this, I can say that all GR vehicles are amazing. The GR Supra 3.0 is brutally fast and looks sleek. The GR86 is extremely fun on back roads and perfect for autocross and track days. And this GR Corolla is terrific because it has a gutsy 3-cylinder turbo engine, great steering, it has loads of grip thanks to a weird all-wheel drive system, and now this is the only GR vehicle that could fit up to 5 people, although probably very uncomfortably. And you can also store some things because the hatchback design is amazing. And probably the best part of this car is that this is 100% Toyota designed. No one is going to look at this GR car and say, that's a BMW or that's a Subaru. Toyota has taken their Corolla platform, added more welds and stiffened this up, widened the track and gave it a wider body. The only thing people may say about this car is that this is an overweight GR Yaris, and that's not a bad thing. And in this video, I want to give you my personal rating on 5 categories: the driving experience, the power, the exterior, interior, and technology, so that you have a better idea before you buy. So if you want to jump around to any of those sections, check out the chapters in this video. And at the very end of the video, I want to give you my overall rating of this car. So let's get this review started and talk about the driving experience. The best part of this GR Corolla is it makes you so involved in the act of driving. As a car enthusiast, I love looking at cars, I love talking about cars, I love thinking about cars, but driving is really the reason why I'm a car enthusiast. And there's a whole heap of cars out there right now. I've reviewed a bunch of them that are perfect road warriors. They're designed to give you the ultimate comfort and convenience, return pretty good gas mileage, but they are just so utterly boring to drive that they give you a forgetful driving experience. This GR Corolla is the medicine for that boredom. This car does not feel like an appliance. It feels like a piece of industrial machinery. It's loud, it's uncomfortable at times, and you still have to do things manually. This GR Corolla only comes with a manual transmission, and it's a very good one at that. 6 speeds and great mechanical feedback and clicks as you go through the gates. To put it simply, this core model and the Circuit Edition is geared more for day-to-day driving, whereas the Maurizio Edition is geared more for track driving. This car does come with IMT, or Intelligent Manual Transmission. That basically gives you rev matching, and it gives you a little boost in throttle so it prevents you from stalling. If you're just learning how to drive a manual transmission, that feature is going to help out greatly. And you may want to use that IMT feature until you get the heel and toe down perfect. The brake and the gas pedals are spaced a bit far away, so you have to do a bit of foot parkour to get it just right. And when it comes to the clutch pedal, it has a slightly heavier spring feel to it. It's a little heavier compared to something you'd find from a Honda Civic or the Acura Integra or the Veloster N, but the engagement feels on point. As for the steering, the GR Corolla feels great. The steering ratio is pretty quick at 12.7 to 1, so it doesn't take as much hand movement to get a lot of steering input. There's less than 2.5 turns from lock to lock, and the result is a car that feels more alive. Steering is also more direct, so there's no big dead spot in the middle. And I think the electric power steering system is tuned as well as it could be. You're not going to get the same amount of feel that you could get from old hydraulic assisted power steering systems. That's just the way it is now. As for the handling of the GR Corolla, it is fantastic. For the front axle, you'll get a McPherson strut style suspension with 14-inch vented and slotted floating rotors. And you can tell this has the performance package on board because the brake calipers are red and have the GR logo on it. And for the rear axle, there's a double wishbone multi-link suspension with 11.7-inch ventilated rotors. All around, this will be wearing Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, 235/40/18 size. This is a very common tire size, so you'll have plenty of aftermarket options, and this is a good size tire for this size car. The tire performance is also very good with lots of grip and not a lot of noise. Now when it comes to the all-wheel drive system, this GR Corolla has borrowed the system from the GR Yaris, which is called the GR4. It's a weird all-wheel drive system where the rear axle is geared slightly faster than the front axle, and then there's a wet multi-plate clutch in between right in front of the rear diff to make up for that difference. Now it sounds like there's some slipping in there, and yes there is, but no need to worry because it's a very small amount of slippage, and that's also a wet multi-plate clutch, so there's a lot of oil in there to keep the heat in check. So because the rear is moving slightly faster than the front, there's an actual braking force between the rear and the front that causes that torque distribution. It's almost like a limited slip diff where you're redistributing torque from the side that has less grip and transferring it to the side that has more grip, only instead of left to right, now it's front to rear. So what does all of that mean? It means that you could slightly tweak the driving dynamics of this car from a front-wheel drive feeling car to a less front-wheel drive feeling car. There's this GR4 dial here, and the default mode when you turn on the car is a 60-40 split, 60% to the front axle, 40% to the rear. When you push this button, it'll put you into track mode, and that'll give you a 50-50 split. And then when you switch the dial to the right, it gives you 30% to the front and 70% to the rear. It is easier to get the rear end out when you're at 30-70, but don't think that you'll be getting a rear-wheel drive level of rowdiness in this car. Even during the launch event of the GR Corolla, they got pro drifters to do the very first public drift of this car, and it was pretty easy to see how tough it was to get a donut going. For day-to-day driving, this GR4 dial is going to be somewhat useless to you because from a stoplight to stoplight experience, you won't be able to tell the difference. But if you're driving 7/10 to 10/10 on a back road or auto crossing or on a track day somewhere, this is going to be great because you can fine-tune the attitude of this car completely, and not many cars can do that. And if you plan on doing any sort of performance driving, then you should absolutely get the performance package for this car because that comes with torsion limited slip diffs for the front and the rear, and that just means that you could put more torque down to the side with more grip, and you could carry more speed through the corners. As for the ride quality, this GR Corolla rides a lot like a hot hatchback. It's on the firm side, but it's not as punishing as a Veloster N or an Elantra N in the hardcore N mode. This ride is not uncomfortable, but you might feel it on your spine after a longer road trip. And while the seats are nice and supportive for the curvy roads, there's no lumbar support, and it's only a 6-way adjustment for the driver's seat and 4-way adjustment for the passenger. So for the driving experience, I'm giving this an easy 10 out of 10. The GR Corolla feels wonderful on a back road. The steering is lively, and the ability to apply grip to all 4 wheels at different torque distributions is pretty amazing. There's not many cars that could do what this thing can do at this price point. That is if you exclude any form of markups. Now, let's talk about the next part of this GR Corolla, and that is the engine. And just like how the all-wheel drive system is weird, this engine is also pretty weird. This car is powered by a 1.6-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine with both port and direct injection, and it makes a healthy 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. The Maurizio edition is track-oriented, so it's tuned to produce more torque at 295 pound-feet. We have seen 3-cylinder engines in the past, but they are rarely used. But I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more of them in the future because these engines are physically smaller and lighter because it's missing 1 cylinder. And it'll be easier for manufacturers to get higher efficiencies out of them because they have less inertia to move. Now, you might be thinking that since modern automotive engines are 4-stroke cycles, which means that it requires 4 revolutions to complete 1 cycle, won't having 3-cylinder engines mean that it's going to vibrate a lot or not work as smoothly? Well, that's true if you leave everything alone, but because there is an imbalance, they've introduced a balancing shaft and also some unique motor mounts to keep the vibration at bay. This is basically like a V6 that has been chopped in half. Now, I can't tell how this is going to fare in the long run, but I can share with you that this has been a lovely engine to drive. It spins very happily to higher RPMs, and this feels like something you want to keep at lower gears so you can keep the RPMs high. There is a bit of turbo lag with the GR Corolla Corolla, and perhaps that adds a bit to the charm. And you'd want to operate this engine at mid to high RPMs. This turbo maxes out at a high 25.2 psi, and peak torque occurs somewhere between 3,000 to 5,500 RPMs. The Maurizio edition is more track focused and less road friendly, so it's going to make even more boost at 26.3 psi, and the window of max torque is going to be even smaller compared to the Core and the Circuit editions. 0 to 60 in the GR Corolla is going to depend a lot on your skill level and the road conditions, but you could probably expect a time near the 5-second mark. You can hit 60 miles per hour in second gear, but if you're track driving, you might want to shift into third so you're not bouncing off the rev limiter. So in my opinion, this engine feels pretty smooth to operate, and it's happy to go all the way up to the red line. But I will say that between 500 to 1500 RPMs, the exhaust can resonate pretty well with this cabin, where it can sound really loud in this car. Now, it can be uncomfortable, but I will just say that it adds to the charm of this little hot hatchback. And as for efficiency, since this is still a fairly lightweight car at 3,262 pounds with the 2 LSDs, you will get 21 miles per gallon in the city, 28 miles per gallon in the highway, and 24 miles per gallon combined. And that's using premium fuel, because again, this will have higher compression ratios. So while it's not going to be the cheapest thing to operate, when you look at the gas bill, you're going to be pretty happy still, because you had a great driving experience. So for power, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10, because this is a great engine, and I think it's going to satisfy you for your daily driving needs. It has a lively and willing attitude to go to higher revs, and it makes delightful sounds. I have been driven around the track by Ryan Turk, who professionally drifts the GR Corolla, and you could tell that this car can probably use another 50 horsepower or so to truly make it magical. So I look forward to seeing what the aftermarket can do for the GR Corolla chassis, because we've seen what the GR Yaris can do. There's some GR Yarises pushing 450 to 550 horsepower out of the little 3-cylinder engine. Next, let's talk about the exterior design. And the GR treatment of the Corolla is a lot like the Evo version of the Mitsubishi Lancer. This is built on the same GAC platform as the Corolla, but unlike the Corolla, this has sprouted big vents and bulged out in all the right places. The track has widened, so this GR Corolla needed a wider body. It's completely molded over for the front end, but the rear end has a tacked on wide body over fender look. The front bumper has a giant opening that exposes the front mount intercooler. Now, if you get the Circuit or the Maurizio edition, you'll find the GR4 stamping. This core model also has the simpler Corolla hood and the roof, whereas the Circuit and the Maurizio edition will have a bulged hood and a forged carbon fiber roof. Now, behind the front wheel, you'll find functional vents to help extract heat from the brakes, and the side skirts have been flared out, and it has the GR4 stamping. And from the rear, the GR Corolla looks like a modified tuner car. The wide body features look very apparent, and there's a blacked out rear diffuser section that highlights the 3 exhaust pipes. The middle exhaust is not a gimmick, nor is it fake. This center exhaust is valved, and it's designed to open when the engine is making peak power. So at that point, there's less back pressure for the turbo at those higher engine speeds. Now up top, this core model has the more modest spoiler compared to the Circuit edition. So from a distance, you can easily mistake this for a traditional Toyota Corolla. But when you get closer, you'll see the special brakes, the 3 exhaust, and that big gaping grille. Then you know you're looking at something more special. So for the exterior design, I'm giving this core model a rating of 9 out of 10. It's a great looking car, but the Circuit edition would look even better because it has the bigger spoiler, better looking hood, more interesting paint choices, and it'll have that forged carbon fiber roof. Now let's talk about the interior. And the GR Corolla looks more or less like a Corolla with some special GR badging. The layout is going to be very similar, and the materials and the feel is very on par for a Toyota vehicle, which isn't bad, but you won't be impressing anyone. The 8-inch touchscreen looks fairly small thanks to the big bezels around it. I think they could have made those bezels a lot smaller, making this look less awkward. And the HVAC has a single automatic zone, which may inconvenience some people, especially your backseat passengers. And looking down the transmission tunnel, you'll find the wireless charger, and because this comes with the cold weather package, you'll find some buttons for the heated seats. And further back, you'll find the drive modes and the traction control button. And here is the slick shifting 6-speed gear shifter, your GR4 mode selector, and then you have your manual handbrake, which is disappearing faster than your manual transmission. And right beside that, you have your 2 cup holders, and I like the way this is placed because this shouldn't really interfere with your shifting. And right behind that, you won't find an armrest. You just have this rubbery surface to maybe place your phone or something, and then you have your USB port and your traditional cigarette lighter output. As for the steering wheel, this feels excellent, and I love the amount of physical controls on the spokes. This is a fun car to drive, and it deserves a great steering wheel with all of these physical buttons. Now, when it comes to the seating, the front seats have nice supportive bolsters to keep you centered. It's a good seat, but there's no lumbar support, and after a long drive, it may get pretty tiring in here. As for the second row, it's not all that impressive with 29.9 inches of legroom, and headroom is so-so at 37.6 inches. I'm 5'8", and there's enough room for myself in here. Now, there's no center vents or USB ports back here, so it's a bit less than the basic set of amenities for the rear occupants. With the Maurizio Edition, there isn't even a back seat since it's a track-oriented car, and Toyota took it out to save about 76 pounds compared to this Core Edition. And in its place, you'll find a bar that can help you fit 4 dedicated race tires. And at the rear, there's 17.8 cubic feet of space. It's not as big as a Veloster N's or GTI's trunk space, which has 19.9 cubic feet of space. So for the interior, I'll give this GR Corolla a rating of 7 out of 10 because it's only a very average interior quality and one that's less hospitable for your other passengers. There's less utility compared to other hot hatchbacks, and this car seems to clearly be designed for one thing only, and that's maximize the driving fun and convenience for the driver. And I don't think that's at all a bad thing. Now let's move on to the technology, and front and center is that 8-inch touchscreen with the ultra-wide bezels. This is running on Toyota's new infotainment system, which is much better than the previous one. And this thing is also going to have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. The menus are laid out nicely, and it's pretty easy to find whatever you need. However, there's no multi-page view or widgets to give you information at a glance. There's a lot of button pushes to show whatever information you'd want. Not that big of a deal for me personally because I use Apple CarPlay anyway. There is a wireless charger down below the HVAC unit, and it's tucked way forward, and the wireless charging performance is not good. When I'm driving, I will easily lose connection with the wireless charger, and considering the amount of G's that this GR Corolla can produce, your phone is probably not going to stay in place in that wireless charger. As for the instrument cluster, there's a 12.3-inch fully digital unit, and this is a great display, and you can change it up based on your driving modes, and you could customize the menus. This also has Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, so it comes with a whole slew of sensors in the car for pre-collision detection, dynamic radar cruise control, and a smart lane tracing system with departure warning. Considering how fun and engaging it is to drive this car on the back roads, I'd suggest you turn off the lane keeping systems so you don't have any weird steering inputs from the car. So for technology, I'll give this an 8 out of 10 because I think there's enough features in here to make it convenient for you as a driver. So to summarize, the GR Corolla is one awesome hot hatchback that is extremely fun to drive. It has a great power plant, a sweet 6-speed transmission, and a weird but fantastic all-wheel drive system that can give this car multiple personalities. The car also looks attractive, better on the outside than inside, with the Core being the most sleeper and Corolla-like, while the Circuit and Maurizio editions will help you stand out a bit more. So all things considered, I'll give the GR Corolla a rating of 8.6 out of 10. This is going to be a fantastic daily driver that you're going to want to take autocrossing or track driving or through your favorite back roads on the weekend. I want to hear your thoughts on this, so please leave your comments down below. If you've learned something from this video, please consider hitting that like, subscribe, and that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime I make a new video. Let's wrap it up right there. My name's Hanson, and this has been the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla Core Edition, and I'll see you in the next one.